Here is a story of a couple in London, Charles and Susan. Charles and Susan live together in London as a couple and have just arrived from an African country. Charles, as an African man, is having challenges in sharing house chores with his wife, Susan. And Susan is beginning to find it very stressful. She has a full-time job as a nurse in a hospital, just like Charles has a full-time job as an accountant. And now, Susan still has to do all of the house chores, but she's getting tired of this. Hear this conversation.
Charles, why did you not take the bin out today?
Susan, when did we start sharing house chores? I don't understand.
When you asked me to start contributing to the house bills.
Really? I only asked you to contribute some. We have her in London and it is difficult here. And have you forgotten I am still the head of the house?
Well, you lost that position the moment you asked me to start contributing to bills.
Oh, so you're asking me to take the trash out when I am ready for work. I cannot do that now.
You will do it, and when you come back we will sit down and share the chores equally.
Who has been teaching you all these nonsense? Look, woman, get out my way.
Charles could not believe what Susan was saying because she had never complained before, and even back in Africa she had always done all the chores without complaining. She thought that maybe somebody had been telling Susan some things. Susan was not having it and decided to see a friend, Diane, at the restaurant. Susan met up with Diane to talk about Charles' behavior. Diane advised Susan to continue standing on her ground and that in her house, her husband does a lot of chores and takes care of her. Diane told Susan to keep standing on her ground and not to back down from Charles' refusal to do the house chores. Diane told her to divorce her husband if he continues to refuse. Hear the conversation.
I have told you, Susan, you should not take any nonsense from any man. I told you my man treats me really well and pays all the bills, and if you keep taking nonsense from a man, they will use you like a rag. Diane, I am very tired. You can't imagine, he doesn't even support with anything. When I come back from night shift, he still expects me to do all the house chores. I can't continue like this. No, you can't. Just continue standing your ground. Make sure you let him know that he also has to contribute to chores. Don't let any man take you for granted. But Diane, is it true that your husband supports you so much? Of course, my husband cooks the food, cleans and supports with laundry. That is how it should be. So, what should I do if Charles refuses to listen? Simple, just divorce him. Divorce him. Yes, divorce him. You can't continue suffering.
Susan felt strongly that Diane was right, and she needed to think thoroughly about this and make a move to divorce her husband. For her, it was like being single in a married relationship. It would have been better for her to be single rather than be married and be doing a lot of chores. So later that day, she thought a lot to herself. Susan was sure that she was going to go ahead with the divorce if Charles refuses to change. Susan thought to herself that it was time for her to make a change if Charles refuses to change.
I cannot continue like this. I am overwhelmed with house chores and I can't keep up this way. I am doing the most in this relationship. Is it not better to be divorced? I will think about it. Diane was right.
She thought that being married is overwhelming if she had to do all the house chores and also contribute to bills. She thought thoroughly about this. Meanwhile, this is Diane and her husband, Donald. They live together as a couple in London. Donald works in a very big store in London. Now, is Diane and Donald perfect together? Does Diane have a perfect relationship as she claimed? Now, listen to this.
So why is my food not ready? I thought I sent you some money earlier.
I am sorry, Donald. I went out and came back very late.
What do you mean you went out? Did you take permission from me?
Donald, please. I only went to see my friend and also to do some shopping. I didn't know I would come back late.
You are very silly. Look, I am getting tired of you and we need to end this.
No, please, Donald, don't do this. I will do anything you want me to. Please, I cannot afford to be divorced, please. I need the papers to stay in this country. We just got married and I have to complete the paper process. Please stay with me, my love.
If you choose to be disobedient and not listen, then I will be forced to go with another woman and you won't get your papers.
Don't do that, Donald. I will never go against your word ever again.
You had better not. Now go and prepare my food immediately.
Diane does not have a perfect marriage all along. She lied to her friend Susan. Diane is actually struggling to get papers through Donald and has been in an agreement with Donald to serve him. Diane claimed that Donald washes the dishes, cleans the house, and painted a very perfect marriage to Susan. Yet she is suffering and she is in an abusive relationship. Later that night, Diane cried her eyes out. She was so hurt from the way Donald treats her. But then she has to leave like nothing is happening. But she continued to cry all through the night. The next morning, Susan went to visit her mother. Her mom works at a restaurant in London. She explained to her mom about Charles and her decision to ask for a divorce.
Susan, you need to be careful of what friends ask you to do. You should rather resolve the issue with your husband. But Mummy, Charles is not listening, and I think the best thing to do is to divorce him. You can't divorce him because of such flimsy issues. You need to just try to let him see why he should support you. Mummy, why do I have to do so much? He is not listening. Look at my friend Diane. Her husband supports her all the time. Are you sure about that? Yes, I am, Mother. I have no option but to divorce him.
Her mom advised her against bad friends putting ideas in her head. But Susan did not want to hear anything. She thought that she was doing the right thing, and her friend Diane had a perfect marriage where her husband listens to her. She told her mom that she was going to make such move should Charles refuse to listen to her. Susan again tried her luck with Charles. She decided to leave the dishes dirty and asked Charles to wash it before he goes to work. Charles was confused and could not believe how troublesome Susan has become. Charles insisted that he was not going to wash it as it doesn't fit into his African man nature.
Susan, please, I am tired of fighting. I need to go to work. I don't know why you are blocking my way.
You have not washed the plates in the kitchen like I advised you to help with. You have to do that before you leave. I can't be the only one doing the house chores.
Susan, looks like you want trouble this morning. I have explained to you, I am an African man and I cannot be doing such.
This is London, Charles. You need to drop your ego and support your wife.
I don't know what has come over you. Please step away, I need to go to work.
You are going nowhere until you do the chores.
Really?
Susan insisted that he would not be going anywhere until he washed the dishes. Later that night, when Susan was on shift at the hospital, Diane was rushed to the hospital. Her husband Donald had beaten her again, and this time left a huge bruises all over her body. In fact, he broke her head. Susan was surprised to see Diane being dropped off and rushed into the ward where she works. She decided to confront Diane about her husband and her lies about a perfect marriage.
Diane, I can't believe it when I saw your husband drop you off from the car and ran away. I don't understand. Did he beat you? I am so sorry, Susan. Yes, he is a very wicked person. I lied to you just because I wanted you to see me as happy and in a happy relationship. I am only with him because of getting citizenship papers. Diane, you asked me to divorce my husband. Meanwhile, you were enduring your own abusive husband. I can't believe this. I am so sorry. I didn't mean to. I was just jealous that you had a more caring man, and I thought it was best to advise you to divorce him when I realized you were having issues with him. I can't believe this. You are a very wicked friend.
Susan was so shocked and couldn't believe that her best friend had been jealous of her. Susan was shocked. She couldn't believe her ears. So Diane was jealous of her and had wanted her to get a divorce. She couldn't believe that Diane was going through worse relationship and was being abused. She then decided to make amends with her husband, Charles.
I knew someone was pushing you and your approach was wrong, Susan. You should have spoken softly. You can't make people do things forcefully.
I am sorry. Diane was the one advising me. I am happy I had not go ahead with the divorce.
I am sorry too. I visited the pastor and he advised me as well. I promise to support you and I understand that I have to be helpful.